About a week ago, I discussed how China is essentially winning the trade war that Donald Trump initiated. A trade war he once claimed was easy to win. The evidence keeps piling up that China has outmaneuvered the former president on multiple fronts. For starters, Chinese officials have openly stated that they weren't even in communication with Trump's administration, directly contradicting his repeated claims that talks were ongoing. In reality, there were no active negotiations, and China made that clear. Instead of bending to U.S. pressure, China has strengthened trade relationships with other countries to replace the American goods they once relied on. They've adapted quickly, while U.S. importers and consumers have been hit with rising costs. The tariffs, particularly Trump's staggering 145% tariff on certain Chinese imports, don't hurt China directly. They hurt American businesses and consumers, who are the ones paying those inflated prices. Now, China has found yet another way to sidestep Trump's aggressive trade tactics. Recognizing that the U.S. is still a valuable market, Chinese exporters have simply adjusted their strategy. Rather than shipping products directly to the U.S., where they'd face the full 145% tariff, they reroute them through other countries, such as Malaysia. From there, the goods are sent to the U.S. under significantly lower tariffs, often around 10%. This practice, known as transshipment, exploits a loophole in U.S. customs law. Technically, the U.S. requires that products undergo a substantial transformation in a third country to legally change their country of origin. Simply relabeling Chinese goods in Malaysia isn't enough. However, the definition of substantial transformation is vague, and companies have figured out how to operate in that gray area. What we've seen, and again, this is reporting, not instruction, is that some exporters are taking their Chinese-made products, sending them to places like Malaysia, and repackaging them entirely. The products might be unboxed, stored for a time, and then placed in new packaging, sometimes even assembled with other components before being shipped off to the U.S. That transformation, however minimal, can be argued to meet the legal threshold under current U.S. customs interpretation. Another trick being used is to ship the product and its packaging separately. Once they arrive in Malaysia, the product is assembled into the packaging, technically creating a new item. This process, while seemingly minor, may be enough to qualify as a substantial transformation under the law, allowing the goods to dodge the full tariff. It's not unlike how raw steel imported into the U.S. can be transformed into auto parts or vehicles, which are then considered U.S.-made. The same logic applies, albeit on a much simpler scale. So while Trump continues to insist that his trade policies are working and that negotiations with China are progressing, the reality is very different. China and its trade partners have found legal and semi-legal workarounds, and they're using them effectively. Meanwhile, American businesses and consumers are left bearing the cost of a trade war that seems increasingly one-sided, and not in our favor.